It's been 8 years since the release of Batman Arkham Knight, the conclusion to Rocksteady's unforgettable and award-winning Batman Arkham trilogy. Gotham Knights released this past October, with many seeing it as a sort of spiritual successor to Arkham Knight, as it begins almost the exact same way that Arkham Knight ends, and the recently delayed Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League is actually a true sequel to Arkham Knight set just 5 years later. The issue is, none of this is going over very well. Gotham Knights underwhelmed, to say the least, with mixed to negative reviews and reportedly disappointing sales numbers. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League just recently showcased brand new gameplay that received so much fan backlash that it forced the studio to delay it to try and address these issues at least to a certain degree. Though it is far too late to change things now, I have a theory that could have saved both games from the fates they have unfortunately met, and it's quite simple. Gotham Knights and Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League should have swapped developers and universes. Here's why. My name is Brett Murphy, and welcome to Critics Play Games. In order to fully convey the theory that I'm trying to get across here, we have to go all the way back to the beginning. So let's start with Gotham Knights, since that game has already been released. Leaks, rumors, and speculation had been running amok for months, if not years, leading up to this announcement. But finally, all was confirmed at DC Fandom in August of 2020. Gotham Knights was described as an open-world action RPG set in the most dynamic and interactive Gotham City yet. In either solo or co-op play, jump into this all-new original story where an expansive criminal underworld has swept through the streets of Gotham after the death of the Batman. It is now up to the Bat family, consisting of Batgirl, Nightwing, Red Hood, or Robin, to patrol Gotham's 5 distinct boroughs and drop in on criminal activity wherever you find it in order to prevent Gotham's descent into total chaos. Sounds pretty good, right? As a massive Batman fan myself, and someone who believes that the Bat family is rarely done the justice they deserve outside of, say, the comics, I was pretty damn hyped, and couldn't wait to see what the team responsible for the highly underrated Batman Arkham Origins could come up with. Not to mention they already had some experience with these particular characters, as they were the ones who crafted the Red Hood, Harley Quinn, Batgirl, and Scarecrow DLC packs for Batman Arkham Knight. When the game was first announced, it was slated for a 2021 release. Originally, it was intended to release on PS4, PS5, PC, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X and S. Eventually, it was announced that the game would be delayed until sometime in 2022. The only reason given at the time was that the publishers wanted to give the developers more time to deliver the best possible experience for players. After some more time had passed, it was announced that the PS4 and Xbox One versions had been outright cancelled because the developers felt that the previous generation of consoles were holding the game back. And in August of 2022, it was revealed at Gamescom that the release date that was previously set for October 25th of 2022 had been moved up ever so slightly to October 21st of 2022, where it did finally release. The critical reception to Gotham Knights was mixed or average overall. A brief overview of some key media outlets' reviews may help shed some light on why exactly this was the case. Game Informer praised the game's co-op play, but concluded by criticizing its mission objectives, clunky and awkward combat, and side activities. GameSpot had some similar thoughts, as they criticized the game's story and heavy focus on its loot system, while also slamming the game's objectives for lacking in variety. However, they did tip their hat to the co-op gameplay, just like Game Informer, and also the characterization of the 4 lead characters. Finally, IGN felt that the game, despite no relation at all, was a poor follow-up to the Batman Arkham series. They did praise the game's costume upgrade options, but felt that the game's combat was far too underwhelming to justify the game's extremely grind-heavy focused style. On Metacritic, all 3 of its available platforms scored in the mid to high 60s. But as we all know, the critics aren't always right, and the critics don't speak for all of us. So how did the fans feel? Well, unfortunately, fans felt the exact same way. In fact, they might have been even a little bit more harsh. The game currently holds a 6.6 on IMDb and an average user score of 4 out of 10 based on the 3 platforms it is available for on Metacritic. It also has a 6 out of 10 on Steam. Many fans, myself included, criticize the game for the exact same reasons: a weak story, clunky gameplay, and grind-heavy, loot-focused mechanics. However, I will say that for the most part, the characters were done well, the co-op could be fun when it wasn't buggy or constantly dropping in frame rates, and that the variety in costumes and customization did add some much needed elements of fun and personality. So, what is the current state of Gotham Knights? No official sales numbers have actually been released at this point, but it has been heavily speculated that the game massively underperformed and may have even neared the status of a flop. All we have to go on is that in the game's first week, it was the 2nd best-selling game in the UK and only the 13th best-selling game in its first week in Japan. According to VG Insights, which reports on Steam numbers, it states that 396k units had been sold, amounting to 17.6 million. That may sound pretty good, and to a certain degree, I'm sure it is. But one key indicator of a game's financial standing is how quickly and frequently it is on sale. Just around a month after release, Gotham Knights was already 40% off on consoles. Now, what is in store for the future of Gotham Knights? The long and short of it is nothing. The game launched with a DLC pack that just included skins, and about a month later we got the Heroic Assault DLC, which simply added a 4-player co-op horde-like mode. No other DLC or expansions have been formally announced, and most fans and media outlets believe that there are currently no plans at all. A small note to end this section on, though, is that the game has received many patches and bug fixes that have caused some media outlets like Eurogamer to re-review it with a new, fresh set of eyes. And now let's shift gears a little bit and talk about the other side of this theory. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League was announced at the exact same time during DC Fandom in August of 2020. The story follows the Suicide Squad, in this game consisting of Harley Quinn, King Shark, Deadshot, and Captain Boomerang, as they take on the Justice League, who have had their minds taken over by Brainiac in the midst of a full-scale invasion of Earth. It is up to this ragtag team of rogues and some unlikely allies to free the Justice League from under Brainiac's control and stop his invasion. The game boasts 4-player co-op, where you can play with up to 3 friends or solo with computer-controlled allies. It is set within the Arkham universe 5 years after the events of Arkham Knight, and it has been revealed that the game had adopted the games as a service model, where it will feature things like a battle pass, a shop, and other such mechanics. Truth be told, when the game was first revealed and all the way up until the games as a service reveal, I was overwhelmingly excited for this one, as I love all 3 of Rocksteady's Arkham games. So to have them back in this universe had me all sorts of flustered and giddy. At this point in time, as of the recording of this video, we have had a teaser trailer, story trailer, gameplay trailer, Batman reveal trailer, which both broke my heart and filled it back up, as this came as a huge and pleasant surprise to discover that we would have the late, great, and unbelievably talented Kevin Conroy back voicing the Batman for one last go. And on February 24th of this year, being 2023 if you are listening from the future, we got a PlayStation showcase where the main focus was showing off 8 minutes of brand new 4-player co-op gameplay. Everyone, myself included, simply just assumed that Rocksteady's next outing would be an easy, effortless, damn near flawless slam dunk. After 3 straight masterpieces, how could they possibly fail? Well, unfortunately, it seems that they have found a way to fail. The fan reception has been poor, to put it politely. I think the brilliant article by Forbes, coming from Paul Tassi, said it best. The gameplay looks strange, like some sort of version of Crackdown with characters flying through the air, all shooting some form of weaponry. But the main problem appeared to be the model itself, in that rather than being a story-focused single-player outing, Suicide Squad is a co-op, loot-based shooter with live service elements, with more characters and content promised after release. The trailer talked about gear score and showed off looted weaponry that would be shared across all classes, meaning King Shark and Harley Quinn wield the same guns. Because of this, the game has once again been delayed. As of right now, it is said to be until later 2023, but some reports indicate that it will likely be delayed into 2024. Sadly, for those of us who haven't been impressed whatsoever and aren't fans of the games as a service model, this delay will not be a complete overhaul of the game like we may have been hoping. It's unfortunately just far too late to redesign the entire game. Right now, the word from the original source is that the delay is necessary mostly to fix bugs and improve aspects of the game that were lagging behind. They went further to add what I had just insinuated. This delay won't overhaul much of the core gameplay that had led to the backlash. This has me extremely worried for the reception that this game will receive upon its release. And now that all of that has been covered, we have reached the main point of this video. Let's discuss why it would have benefited Gotham Knights to be developed by Rocksteady and be set in the Arkhamverse. And I am warning everyone now, spoilers ahead. First things first, let's talk about where Arkham Knight left off. Not the half-assed Jason Todd reveal, but the quote-unquote true ending of the game. The Nightfall Protocol, which, oh yeah, that's right, supposedly kills the Batman. So, step 1 for the story of Gotham Knights, check, it's already covered. Sure, we all assume that he's not actually dead, and maybe Gotham Knights wanted him truly and definitively dead. That's cool. They could still do that if they really wanted to, or find some other relatively easy workaround. They didn't need to give us a brand new Batman only to kill him off after a lengthy opening cutscene. Point number 2. The Bat family already existed in the Arkham universe. Nightwing is there, Robin is there, Oracle/Batgirl is there, and of course, as I just mentioned, Jason Todd, who started off as the Arkham Knight, has now become Red Hood. All of the pieces were already there. They could have woven a brand new story set in this universe where Batman is already dead or gone with characters we already know. Not to mention pre-established Bat villains and a bunch of lore to already play around in. Not to mention ×2, a stunning, fully realized Gotham City that has continued to grow and expand over the course of 3 games and many years of development. The last and most obvious point in my mind is that Rocksteady has the Batman formula down to a science. The fluid combat, the memorable characters, the unforgettable stories, and so on. No one does Batman like Rocksteady, and they have already worked with these Bat family characters. In my eyes, it was all right there, laid out in front of them. It could have been something truly brilliant and breathtaking. And look, I get it too. From the developer's perspective, they've already told the stories they wanted to tell, they've moved on from Batman and wanted to take a crack at something new. To which I say to you, number 1, no, they haven't moved on. It's still set in the Arkhamverse and Batman is featured in it. And number 2, how has that whole moving on and trying something new thing been working out for them so far? Now, let's flip over to the other side of the two-faced coin. Why would it have benefited Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League to be developed by WB Games Montreal and set in a new universe? Firstly, this version that we already have in the real world of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League retcons and or gives a definitive response on the ending of Arkham Knight. Now look, I know not everyone liked the whole Nightfall Protocol thing, but it gave me mad Batman the Dark Knight Returns vibes, and I honestly dug it. If Rocksteady was truly done with the Arkhamverse, this seemed like a fitting ending, and in my mind, he didn't just go run and hide. He continued on like he did in The Dark Knight Returns, where he stays hidden underground and trains the future crime fighters of Gotham. This next point could be up for a bit of contention, but there is little to no mention of the Justice League whatsoever throughout the Arkham games. They do not appear physically at all and are only very minorly referenced. And by minorly, I mean we see some names like Queen Industries in Arkham Knight for referencing Oliver Queen, aka Green Arrow, or the Wonder Woman logo being used for the Wayne Foundation Community Center. More blunt examples include a very brief cameo of the voice of Lex Luthor that's in the form of an answering machine Easter egg, and some street thugs name-dropping Superman, as well as Starro being featured in Arkham Knight's Batgirl story DLC. So really where this bugs me is the fact that we're just supposed to accept the fact that Batman went through everything that he did across the 3 Arkham games, with literally in Arkham Knight, Gotham being in total fear-toxined chaos, and the Justice League did nothing about it, and there was never any mention of the Justice League. It just, to me, it just seems too out there, and it really kind of bugs me that we spent so much time in this world and never knew that the Justice League were also supposed to be in it. I actually found some Reddit posts long before Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League was ever announced, I think dated back to 2016, where people said that no, they don't think the Justice League exists in the Arkham universe. That just goes to show you where everyone's, mine included, heads were at with the Justice League and the Arkham universe. But regardless, that's more so just me ranting about Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League and not actually saying why it would have benefited from being developed by WB Games Montreal and set in a brand new universe. So let's change gears slightly and talk about Gotham Knights again and WB Montreal's approach. Like I mentioned way back at the beginning of the video, I think Arkham Origins is severely underrated. That game has gotten far too much hate, nowhere near enough love, and too few people have played it. I think it's phenomenal, and I highly recommend you give it a go if you haven't. That being said, they dropped the ball with Gotham Knights. Firstly, I don't think the RPG elements worked at all, especially when blended with the game's clunky combat and repetitive missions. The characters, in my humble opinion, were actually written pretty well, and I admire that they attempted to make each hero unique in terms of their combat style, progression tree, and approach to missions. Nightwing is acrobatic, Robin is stealth-based, Red Hood is a brute, and Batgirl is a bit of everything and the most like the traditional Batman style. It just didn't really work. Sure, if you tried really hard, you could try and tailor your hero to specific mission types, or specific approaches to missions, but you could also mix and match styles and approaches, and in the end, it wouldn't really matter all that much. Not to mention, there were so many stupid little tedious side things, like only being able to use the bat cycle or grapple hook until you did a certain set of side objectives to unlock your true hero-specific navigation style. In my humble opinion, if WB Montreal got their hands on the Suicide Squad, they could have picked any of the characters from the team's history to work with and really went all in on the unique playstyles that they attempted in Gotham Knights. Not only would it have made way more sense in my opinion, but they could have made them much more distinct from one another than that of the Knights, and tailored them to certain missions or specific objectives, which would have further encouraged team and co-op play. From an unlocking standpoint too, the progression trees, side missions, and other similar features could have offered far more variety. The last point I wanted to make for Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League swapping is something that I feel could have really helped WB Montreal and saved them a lot of grief. Gotham Knights was the first big Batman game since Arkham Knight, and we all knew that everyone was going to automatically and immediately, and honestly unfairly, compare Gotham Knights to the Arkham games from Rocksteady. They were tasked with introducing a new Batman, introducing new versions of a portion of the Rogues Gallery, introducing new versions of the Bat Family, and introducing us to a brand new Gotham. A gargantuan task to say the least. In my humble opinion, if they had tackled the Suicide Squad instead, none of that would have been an issue. WB Montreal could have crafted a brand new world that they could have made whatever they wanted and allowed them to create all new stories and set up whichever way they saw fit for future sequels, spin-offs, new versions of heroes and villains alike, with no immediate comparisons. I think this would have led to players viewing this theoretical game with a completely different lens and approaching it with a whole new perspective. So, to try and wrap this up into something resembling a nice, neat little bow, I stand by my analysis now that it's all laid out for you. I think story-wise, gameplay-wise, and every other which way-wise, both the studios, stories, characters, and gameplay overall would have benefited from these two games swapping developers and universes. But that's all that I have to say on that. What we really want to know is, what do you think? Did you enjoy Gotham Knights? Are you looking forward to Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League? Or do you feel that I may be right in that both of these games and the developers who worked on them would have benefited greatly if they swapped studios and universes? Folks, if you stuck around this long, I just wanted to say thank you so very much for watching. Once again, I have been Brett Murphy, and this has been Critics Play Games.